And thank you for joining another great episode of Don't Get This Twisted. I am your host, the Professor, with my co-host, as always, Miss Tina. How you doing?
How you doing, Professor?
Oh, I'm lovely. Another lovely day here at the office. Well, today's episode, we are going to hit something that is huge in society today. It is cancel culture. We have it running rampant these days of if people don't like you, they just try to stomp you out. I think maybe we should start with a simple definition for the people listening today.
Okay.
What do we got here? It says the practice or tendency of engaging in mass canceling as a way of expressing disapproval or exerting social pressure. And if you can believe this, Miss, it's actually from the dictionary.
I know you said that. That's so crazy.
Yeah, we live in a weird world. Weird. So cancel culture obviously is a bunch of people on the internet trying to get rid of somebody for a reason they don't like, whether it was 2 weeks ago or 3 years ago. I think it's a very dangerous, slippery slope that we live in today where people cannot have opinions, which is scary.
And everybody does.
Yeah. And fortunately, like this show, they're like assholes. They're everywhere. So my thing with cancel culture is I am definitely against it. I think it's a bad thing. It gets rid of art. It gets rid of humor. It gets rid of lots and lots of things where, yes, 20 years ago, something might not have been socially acceptable, like stand-up comedy, where the show might have been about things that aren't socially, good today. That doesn't mean you get rid of them. That just means you say, hey, things were different. And people don't like to hear that.
Yeah, it's almost like they want to erase history or erase how things were. And that doesn't sit well with me either.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's okay to be offended. Like your feelings can be hurt, but it doesn't mean that your feelings are always right. And I think that's on both sides.
It also doesn't mean that anybody has to care that you got offended either. Like, let's face it.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been lots of people that have either been canceled or they try to cancel. It's right. It's a crazy thing. You do things that are not socially acceptable today. It's like there was one with Eddie Murphy. There was an old Eddie Murphy stand-up special where he talked a lot of stuff about being gay or this or that. And people literally tried to get it taken off Netflix.
No way.
Yeah, because of something he said when he was 22 years old in 1984.
Wow.
Yes, when the climate was just different. And yes, it's going to offend people today.
Well, back in the day, people, okay, when I was growing up, correct me if I'm wrong, people didn't want to be victims. I think now we live in a culture where being a victim, having an excuse for your negative or bad behavior is kind of bullshit. Like, no, you're just being an asshole. It's not because you have this or that. It's because you're an asshole. You need to learn how to maintain with society. But it seems like society's thing right now is to it's not like they build up people that feel offended or are victimized, but they get on the bandwagon and tell them it's okay instead of telling them get off your ass, dust off, and move on. Like, get over feeling like this because it's not going to change.
Yeah, I think the thing is that people let the smaller percentage take over. Like, I get it. Like, look, you shouldn't shit on people, and you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do that. But you got to understand that the mass societal things generally make the laws or make the rules. Whether they're right or wrong is irrelevant. You can look at that throughout history, and you can look at that throughout other cultures outside the United States that are still that way. Like, they don't care. You look at the Middle East, where they don't care. They'll throw you off a building.
Even I noticed that my Hispanic friends and the way that they interact with one another, you can't say that in other cultures because the culture would be so offended, like it would cause a problem. But yet in certain cultures, hey, that's just the way it is, and you need to toughen up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think people are way more thin-skinned.
I don't know that they even have any skin anymore. Like, this is getting so far out of hand. It's mind-boggling.
I wonder where it went wrong, though, because I think maybe it was our generation teaching the kids. I think that and I hate to say
it was definitely our generation that did it.
Because, I mean, my dad, would have just giggled at me. He would have been like, that's funny. Get your ass back to doing what you were doing. You're offended. I don't care. Live with it. And
absolutely. Toughen up.
And I think that I taught my son differently, but his generation is a little different. He's 18. I think they're sort of reverting, but the middle ground, the 30-year-old today is this bizarre, and I hate to use the word snowflake, but sometimes it's appropriate. Like, these kids just melt over saying nothing to them. And like, they can't take shit. They can't go to work. You say something wrong at work, they try to cancel their boss. They try to get them fired. They try to get them thrown out just because they got told to go clean the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
When your job description has clean the bathroom in it, it's
right.
I don't know. I think it's just a very bizarre thing. So now with social media, trying to cancel somebody is a hashtag away. You know what I mean?
That's
now
true.
it's like go on Twitter and put fire Kim Kardashian. And if it goes fucking viral, these people, it's on the news the next day because the news has nothing to talk about. So now their whole thing is they jump on the bandwagon, and it's just this rolling, shitball that's rolling downhill at 100 miles an hour.
I agree.
And now it's cancel everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like what we say on this show can get us canceled.
That's true.
Which to me is crazy. There has to be free speech and different platforms. If there's not a conservative view and a liberal view and a right view and a left view and a center and an independent, if you're not having all these discussions, whether they're on podcasts like ours or at the water fountain at work, there's a problem. We're slowly dividing ourselves so far apart that now it's cancel everyone.
And why is it that everybody has to share the same opinion now? We used to be able to have an opinion, and everybody's was so different. I used to love to hear what other people's opinions were, just because, I learned how other people thought or saw it from a different perspective, or, just maybe thought of it in a way I didn't think of it before. And now you can't do that. You're not even allowed to have thought about what it was without somebody telling you it's wrong. It victimized somebody. Somebody's hurt and we have to pay. And by the way, give them some money.
Yeah. And then cancel the person who did it.
Yes.
Like make you go away. Like, oh, there used to be this comedian who did this, but yeah, we got rid of it because we didn't like the 2 jokes that he said about gay people, or we didn't like that he said this about old folks, or, pick your topic. If you're going to
somebody's going to get offended.
and that's the thing, like stand-up comedy in 10 years won't be around. People won't be laughing anymore. People are too serious now. You can't say anything. You say one wrong F word and your life changes.
I hope it doesn't get to that. Because I do believe there's enough people in this world who go around thinking, grow a pair, shut up. And that was funny. I'm one of those people, like, say something that's wrong or rude or whatever. And if it's funny, I'm going to laugh at it. And there shouldn't be, I mean, as long as you're not harming anybody or you're speaking like, let's go hurt somebody or do whatever, let it go. Let people have an opinion. I mean, does it really matter that much that you have to sit and listen and hate that? Or can you just like turn the channel, do something else and move the fuck on?
Well,
pick a cause that's actually worth something.
Well, and here's the thing. I think you said it best. If you don't like it, don't listen.
That's right.
And that, I think, goes for all this stuff. If you don't like mumble rap, it's pretty simple. Don't put it on. If you don't like this metal group because they talk about the devil, don't put it on. You can't cancel these people. You can't get rid of everything. When you start trying to get rid of everything, there'll be nothing.
And that's what's going on. Look at how the statues are being taken down, and things that used to be part of history they don't any longer exist because somebody was offended. There are so many people that are offended of things I never even thought to have an opinion about. Can't believe that was what they'd be offended by. I'm shocked. I am shocked.
Yeah. If you were, so shocked in awe over a General Lee statue, you didn't care about it for the last 30 years and now you care about it. I think there's a lot of people just jumping on everything. And again, I think the last 8 years, maybe 12, the last two presidents obviously has changed this world. And now if you even have some kind of political talk, that's another thing to cancel you over. Oh, you like this guy? I can't believe that. Why? He's this, and this. You can't even say his name.
Who are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me, I gotta know.
We're to a point where it's almost that bad, and again, like, who you vote for is up to you, but to drive wedges between people or look at trying to cancel somebody just because they support somebody, it's like they're trying to cancel the Pello guy because he My Pillow. He was in with the last president. And literally they took his pillow out of like 20 markets, like 20
because
places.
Of why?
Together. Because he aligned himself with the last president.
You're kidding.
And they tried to cancel him. So there was like things on social media that, oh, this guy, he believes this and he believes this and he likes this president. And like he got kicked out of and I'm not joking, like 20 different stores. They stopped carrying My Pillow because of that, because of the outrage of people.
Wow, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. But yet Chick-fil-A, it's known how their founders believe, and they're open and the line's always all the way out and around. People really pick and choose the craziest things to have a problem with.
Uh-huh. I know people that will not eat at Chick-fil-A because of that.
My brother won't.
Yeah. And again, that is up to you. That's what makes capitalism so great. You don't like it, don't go eat there. And if enough people don't go eat there, they'll go out of business. But to go online and try to cancel them for that is insane.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a way to get rid of them. Don't eat their chicken.
Right.
It's simple arithmetic. It's math. It's nothing more than that. But to get online and go, well, no one should eat at Chick-fil-A because they support this. Okay. Society, there's people in society that don't support that either. And if you think that it's a small percentage, you're crazy. So at the end of the day, I think you have to look at the reality of the world, and canceling people is not the way to do it.
I agree.
We're really going to get rid of people for the wrong reasons. And it's a scary thing of what we're going to get rid of. We're going to get rid of opinion and free speech. Now you can't say anything, because if you offend two people, they're going to start something online and get rid of you.
You know, I've noticed that on social media with friends, especially with all the politics and everything that's been going on the last, 10 years or so, even more. People who are good friends all of a sudden don't speak because of something that got posted on social media. And that to me just blows my mind. You can't even let your friend have an opinion. You can't even disagree with somebody. I got to say, I have a bunch of friends I disagree with, and we just agree to disagree and move on. There doesn't have to be any hate. We may argue about it occasionally, because really, I don't even want to go there half the time with the arguing. And so I just drop it. And people want to just dump quality people out of their life because they don't agree in the same way.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
It is mind blowing, to the point where getting back to like cancel culture and other things that are kind of part of that. The other thing that's really big on online is it's called doxing. It's where people find out people's addresses or jobs or whatever, and they try to get rid of them by sending things to these places, putting their address online so people try to go to their house, saying where you work so people will call your work and try to get you fired for saying something.
Yeah, that's kind of bullshit. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could handle things, but that's just pushing it too far. Messing with people's livelihood, messing with where they feel safe and secure of being in their own house. That's bullshit. And you know what that is to me? That's a bully. Like we talk about bullies and how, these kids are being bullied. They learned it from you.
Yeah. Well, that's what cancel culture is. It's bullying people until they give in.
Right.
But these will be the same people who bitch that their kids are being bullied at school. Yes,
exactly. I wonder why.
Yeah.
What are you teaching your kids?
And again, this is not just a one way or the other way. This isn't a left or a right issue. I think it's mostly a right issue or a left issue. The left try to cancel people more than people on the right. But I think that it's growing on both sides to where it's a war. It's who can cancel who first. And I agree. And we have to stop. We need open dialogue between everyone. And like you said, you're not going to agree. There's families that have been torn apart over politics. Literally, people are like, yeah, I can't talk to you because you voted for the orange man. Seriously. And I've seen it between people I know.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of friends who are not friends on social media anymore, and they barely speak in person. These were people that barbecued together. Their kids went to school together, the summer vacations together. And now they can't even talk to each other because they disagree about one topic. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, and then what's the reality inside that? Like, where are you getting your news from, or where are you getting this? Like, beliefs are beliefs. When it comes to some things, you're not going to change people. Religious beliefs. So if you have something religiously and you believe in that, and there is something that you don't agree with morally, you're not going to change that person. It doesn't matter. You have to learn to live within that. Like, does it bother you that much? And if it bothers you that much, that's on you. But you can't go and say, Bob Jones over here doesn't like Raiders football. So I'm going to make sure that everyone knows that so they, get him fired at work. It's like, trust me, half the people that are trying to get these people fired at work are doing shit at home that would turn your stomach.
Exactly. They have the moral compass of a frog. Let's face it.
And again, both sides. I'll argue both sides of that. Like the devout religious person, probably gets tied up at night. But you know what I mean? And the person who's saying, is the person who's marching in all these protests is smearing shit on themselves in the middle of the night. There's a vice for everybody. I'm just telling you, it's like, if you really knew, it's like, it's just not reality. We're all,
nobody's perfect.
Yeah. We're all sinners. Let's be honest, but you can't cancel somebody for that. You can't get rid of someone because you're morally different. You cannot like them. You cannot like them all day long.
You cannot hang out with them. You cannot be a part of their everyday life.
But to shit on them because you don't like it, no, I disagree. You can't do that. It's a slippery slope of, to me, it's a slippery slope of be careful what you wish for. You might just get it.
Right.
Because you might be doing it and then get it.
Yes. And then somebody will turn around and not like something you said in jest or even serious. And then you could be the one that's being bullied, because that's all this is cancel culture crap is bullying. It's just, I don't like you, so we're going to, I'll be against you. And that's that. It's so, again, look what you're teaching your children, because that's exactly what's happening. Like, you wonder why your kids are doing what they're doing, wonder why nobody's getting along. Well, that's why everybody, I was taught that people had different opinions because that's what made the world go round. That's what made things interesting. That's what gave you a chance to have some free thought, was by sharing different views, different ideas, different opinions, and respecting the person, even if you didn't like what they said.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Where did that go wrong? Where did we go wrong with all that?
That's a great question. I think probably education. So, again, I don't know myself, but from what people say, obviously there's a more left-leaning college atmosphere. So you're probably getting a lot of that starting in high schools with the shit that we see on TV, where you got guys, teaching socialism and hanging Black Lives Matter flags, and this inside classrooms where they teach science.
Yeah, that's not cool.
It's like, come on, dude, teach fucking science and we'll all be good. I don't know. I think that we're indoctrinating a lot of people with whatever thoughts are. Free thought is gone. Because now you can't have it.
Yeah, I think it's not gone, but I think that people who should stand up maybe sometimes and say, oh, come on, enough is enough, they won't, because they just don't want to get caught up in the web that is that's pulling people into it left and right.
Yeah. Well, it's the web of cancel culture. It's if I say this and I offend one person, it's going to snowball into this massive thing where sometimes context is everything.
Right.
So context, it should start. And look, if you don't like the dirty joke that was said, be offended.
Forget about it. Move on.
Yeah. But some of these people take this shit to the grave. Like, they hear this and we're like, I can't believe you said this. And, it's going to offend people. Do you know who Daniel Tosh is? Comedian.
No.
He does a joke. He does a rape joke, and he and that's the thing. It's like people are like, you can't tell rape jokes, and he goes, sure you can. If you tell a good joke, you can tell a good joke about anything. It just has to be a good joke, and I think that's life. Like, he's right. Like, you can't. Everything can't hurt your feelings. You will fail in this life if you think like that. The victim mentality that you talked about earlier says a lot. It says a lot.
Absolutely.
We've raised a lot of victims.
We have. And I think, we talked about what really has gone on. I think giving a child everything that they could possibly want started it. I think that maybe giving everybody trophies started it. I think maybe, I don't know, there's so many things, like giving your child or you an excuse. Oh, he's got this. Oh, he's got that. Oh, she's been through this. Everybody's got a story, but not everybody needs to be a victim. And I think that we're at a place in society where we give excuses for bad behavior. And honestly, there's no excuse. If you're being an asshole, you're being an asshole. And that's just how it goes. Like, let's call a spade a spade. It is what it is. If you're acting like a fool, I'm going to say, quit acting like a fool. It's not me bullying. It's me calling bullshit. And I'm over having to gingerly walk around to not offend somebody that's got the thinnest skin. People like that, when I was growing up, you messed with and made them cry. Deal with it. Deal with it. That's just what happened. Well, and I'm not talking bullying. I'm talking, this is how the kid was acting. They were like, get over it. Shut the fuck up. Like, move on. We didn't have time for that. We were too busy having a decent life and not getting offended. I didn't even know that was something we could be when I was growing up.
Yeah. I mean, because things just kind of went, you were like a duck. They hit you and kind of rolled off. I mean, Yes, things were offensive even then. But we were just taught differently. Maybe that was just it. I just think that we were different children. So we grew up to be different adults. I'm rarely offended. I mean, I will definitely fight for a position I believe in, which is probably another show, because we're going to probably do a show on guns and the Second Amendment. I will fight for that till my death. But I have friends who are total anti-gun. Mm-hmm. Still my friends. They just don't go shooting. So,
right. We just don't talk about it.
Yeah. And if we do, I still say I believe, and they still say they don't. And I'm okay with that.
See, for me, there's so many things I don't want to discuss. I don't want to discuss politics. I don't want to discuss religion. Don't want to discuss it. And I've been trained as a hairdresser. Your first chapter in your cosmetology book talks about why you don't talk about shit like that. So maybe I've been conditioned, but also, I feel like when it comes to politics, we're not given the whole story. So I don't have the best education to make a decision as to how I need to be with things, because we're not told the truth. And I thoroughly believe that with politicians. They are the best liars. I wish I had some of their skills. I really don't. But on the other hand, I just don't want to hear them talk because I don't believe in them. That's just my view. So I let it go. I don't stay offended. I wasn't out picketing. You didn't see me, getting crazy. Did I think that things were happening that shouldn't be? Absolutely. Did I have an opinion? Absolutely. But was it worth getting so caught up with all the negativity that was already rolling around? Not even close. Not for me.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense.
I think in the world that we were living in the last 2 years, it was a hair trigger.
Oh yeah.
Being locked up, which we did a show about, and then other things happening in the news that just drove people on both sides to do crazy shit. So I just think that we're in a place where now whatever you say is a dangerous thing. And in a free country, we can't do that. We need to teach.
We should, we shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't even allow people to get all offended by it. This should be something that we should be cutting off. Like, no, we're not going to accept the fact that you're offended. We're not going to accept the fact that you're doing this because we live in America, because we were taught that these are our freedoms that we need to fight for, not fight for, die for.
Right.
And
exactly.
really, you're going to come in here and with your soft little personality and try to like get rid of things because you're offended. Go sit in the corner and be offended. I don't have no fucking time for this anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, be offended. It's okay. It's okay to be offended. There's a comedian that has a bit on that, and he talks about being offended, and he goes, it's okay to be offended. He goes, because you know what offends me? Boy bands. Because boy bands offend me. And he goes, but I'm not calling the cops tomorrow saying, I don't like One Direction.
Right.
Like it's just, I don't like One Direction and I don't listen to them. And then
offended.
And then I move on. I put something else on the radio and I listen to that on the way to work. So, and again, I don't want to marginalize people's fights. Like I understand, the communities that are fighting for what they're fighting for. I totally do. And I won't discredit that, but you also have to understand that everyone's fighting their own little battle. And we all have our own opinion on whatever that is. If you don't like it, great. Change it a way that you can change it. But by telling someone's boss or getting on social media and trying to out somebody for some dumb shit that they said 5 years ago, that was funny then, that is probably still funny today, but other people won't admit that it's funny.
Right.
And that's the problem. Like I said, a good joke is a good joke is a good joke. And it happens to be a lot of comedians that are trying to get canceled, but actors as well have said stuff. Now, if you're pro-right, if you have any kind of right leaning, if you're at all conservative, they'll try to get rid of you. Like, it's just crazy to me.
I don't necessarily know. I don't necessarily know if it's this side or that side. I think people just, as a whole, like, are they that broken that they just need to complain that much? I mean, when I was growing up, there was a lot of things that I didn't like. You ignored it. You walked away from it. You did something else, or you tried to understand. Maybe people need to start looking at other people's perceptions, because just like in a car accident, depending on where you're sitting is going to be what you see. Your perception of being on one corner versus another is going to be completely different. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That should be okay. Just like with life and things that are going on, perceptions make or break whatever side you're picking. And it's time to start looking at it, because it's not black and white. It's not right or wrong. It's not this or that. Life doesn't work like that. Life is about balance, and we need all of it in order to stay balanced. We just do.
Because I don't believe that perception is always reality.
Well, then there's that.
But people will tell you that the perception is reality. And I think looking
for the person it is.
Yes. That's just looking through a very small hole and seeing a big picture. That's not always the truth either. When you start looking at the reality of what this world is actually thinking, it's a scary thing where we're going to be in 10 years. What are we going to not be able to do? People are already talking about free speech going away, like not having any kind of freedom of speech. That's bad.
But I think there's, again, Mother Nature's got balance. Like we go this direction, then we go that direction. Like opinions change with the season. And what's pissing people off now is not going to bother them tomorrow. And, things change very quickly. For instance, I remember after 9/11, man, everybody knew their neighbors. There were flags flying. It was like, yeah, put in whatever cameras we need. We're going to get these people. Yes, we're going to start a war. We're going to do all these things. 20 years later, everybody's like, we need to be out of there. Like perceptions changed. Yeah. Everything about it's changed. And that should be okay too.
Correct. I agree. I just think that we need to do less canceling and more counseling, maybe. Maybe we all need to talk. I mean, what would be the best thing for society is to sit in a big circle and talk,
I don't know if that would necessarily work because people don't want to see other people's sides. We're at a place right now where people don't want to hear it. They want their own side and they want it their own way. And they don't want to be bothered by looking at it from any other direction. So I think we need to be open. We need to be open to the possibility that we're just being an asshole and we have an opinion that may not be somebody else's and just let it be. People should have different opinions. I remember growing up, depending on what household we were in was how we needed to act. And guess what? We learned so that we could all be together.
Yeah. I mean, look how many work, how many times have you worked in a place that had more than 10 employees?
My whole career.
And did you all get along?
Oh, hell no.
Did you all have the same opinion?
Oh, no.
So life, the reality of life is when you get into the real world, you realize that trying to cancel somebody is utter bullshit because the person that you're going to be working with, let's say you get a great job. Are you going to quit your job because the guy next to you is a Christian?
Yeah. I had that experience when I was much younger and probably way less tolerant. And it bothered me. I remember at the station, there was Bibles at the station. And I thought, this is not the place for that. Or the prayer that went on at times. It made me uncomfortable at the time, I have to say. But at the same time, growing up, I see that, man, that at that time was probably what was keeping that person sane. Mm-hmm. And I just ignored it. I didn't share my opinion. I didn't give my view. I just didn't want them to put their views on me. And if you could have like respect to stay on your side of the street with certain things, you could still be friends.
Yeah, I would say for sure me.
Yeah. See, your opinions never really bothered me because I always found them funny. Like, okay, so you think a little bit differently than I do, but you were still entertaining. So I just let it go. Like, okay, so it never dawned on me to be offended. Never did.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd make fun of you or I'd let you make fun of me, or we would just laugh and say, oh, what the fuck ever. But offended? I don't know. In all these years, I've ever been offended by something that you said. And I would love to.
Yeah. I mean,
let's see if you could do this.
I also think that we're very hard to offend.
Yeah.
I think there's also that going that it would take a lot to offend me. A lot. Well,
the egos, we don't have bulked up egos either. Like we're both like, no. Yeah, you got me. Haha, let it go.
Yeah.
And you move on.
Yeah. I just also think that look, we knew where we stood, but I also think that, I've worked with lots of people that I did not agree with on a lot of different levels. But not enough to like go running to my boss and be like, they're talking about this. Like, I can't be here because of that. It's like, because I was raised that if you don't like it there, quit.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else and get another job. Like, it's not their position to fix you. You got to fix yourself. And I think as a society, we have to fix ourselves because we're not.
Right.
Now it's just bitch,
Excuses.
moan, and get rid of somebody. So
yes.
I think that that's the bigger piece of this puzzle, I think, is trying to teach the people of today. Look, we understand your plight, but you have to understand that you have to understand other people's plights. Your opinion isn't always right.
And your plight may be totally a valid point, but at the same time, what is going on around us because of it, like, it shouldn't be like that. We don't need to destroy history. We don't need to destroy what was built and just replace it with what do we replace it with? Because what we replace it with next is going to offend somebody 10 years from now. We have to deal with it. If something offends you, it stirs emotion in you. It means you're alive. It means you're alive. Deal with it. And if you want to be bothered by everything, really go smoke some pot, go get a counselor, go do something to calm down, because there are so many things that we should be offended by that if you really want some time in, you could fix.
Yeah.
Do that.
Like I said before, if you're that offended by this now, wait until you get into the real world.
That's so true.
Because once you start getting into the real world where people really don't give a shit about you, you're not going to know how to handle it. So
yeah,
I guess we'll see. Well, any last thoughts for today's show?
I would say that we need to be more tolerant. I think we need to look at our own behavior more. I think we need to quit pointing fingers and start looking inside us and see what we could do to make this place better. Because if we start changing the way we are, then the world around us will start to change, and then nobody has to be offended.
Perfect. And my last thought on this is opinions are opinions are opinions. If you get your opinions in a bunch, you're going to have a very miserable life.
Agreed.
And on that, we will say goodbye to this week's show, and we will see you next week for another beautiful episode of Don't Get This Twisted. And that really goes with today's show. Don't get this twisted, man. It's just life. For my lovely co-host, Tina, I am the professor. We will see you next week.